Hello, Pauper fans. It's Mathonical, and you're joining me for round one of the second Pauper League, which I've recorded. We're going to be playing this with some what I like to call Lock Pestilence, and you'll see those cards come up over the course of the series. Our opening hand for game one, perfectly reasonable. It's a little on the slow side since we can't drop a turn one Thraben Inspector, but that is fine. We've got our value package. Even got a Palace Sentinels for the late game and a Pestilence, so we're going to be very happy keeping this one. Early turns are going to be very straightforward, but we're basically just going to be looking to stall out the game as much as possible and get the Pestilence online. Seeing the Nettle Sentinel is basically going to be either Stompy or Elves, and it looks like it is indeed Elves. So Pestilence is basically going to win us the game here. There isn't much Elves can do unless they can really go off on the third turn. But even if he or she could, Prismatic Strands will be able to, like we play that next turn to blank anything, play it again the turn after that while we wait for our Pestilence to come online. And yeah, this hand is golden. Since our opponent didn't play anything too dangerous, they're going to be a game bit of life and play a bunch of things if they want to. We're just going to get our Pestilence down. There's no way our opponent can kill us here. So might as well just get it on the field because we'll be able to board wipe them next turn. We're even set up for a really good play of being able to activate it once, swing in for a damage, and then what we can do here is using the 2 white mana we still have available, play the core Skyfisher, bouncing the Thraben Inspector back to her hand, and then use the Pestilence 2 more times to wipe the rest of their board, leaving us with that core Skyfisher. That is the maximum value play that Pestilence can basically achieve for you. We don't even lose a single creature, and we're going to get an additional clue. So we're set up for the long game, and basically the only way Elves can get out of this is if they are able to somehow get some really large creatures or their longbow online. But since we are quite decently high on the life total, we're not going to be running out of life anytime. We can continue to board wipe. So we've basically got this game locked up. Our opponent does realize that and does concede the first game. So we're going to jump on over to game number 2, and we'll take a look at the sideboard. So I don't really like Chainer's Edicts in this this matchup, basically because they do have things you want to kill, but you want to surgically remove the creatures that you don't want them to have. They're going to have so many Elves on the battlefield, just making them randomly sack one isn't the best deal. So by taking those out, I'm going to bring in some of the Doom Blades. Basically, we want to make sure we're removing the things that we really want gone. It's also, you could bring in the Snuff out, but I'm not going to bring it in this time. I did take out the 2 Palace Sentinels. Once again, I don't like it in this matchup. They can go wide and usually get around it. Just because I was able to play it last game and really lock up the position is not indicative of how this works in the matchup. We do want the Coalition Honor Guards. That turns off a lot of their targeted effects. And we also want to bring in the Core Sanctifiers just in case they do have that longbow. This is their best answer for getting rid of it. Sometimes they'll also play a, Spider Silk Armor. Yeah, I think that's the name of it. Basically, that allows us to get rid of that as well, so that way it's a little easier for us to wipe their board over and over again, and we can chip in with our flyers. Basically, that's all we're going to be bringing in. Those 5 cards. And we're taking out 5 cards, so there we go, sideboarding done. Taking a look at our opening hand. It's a little on the slow side and doesn't have any protection effects, so it is possible with this hand that we can get run over. But knowing that, I'm still going to go ahead and keep this one, basically on the power of Pestilence. We do have a lot of staying power with these life gain effects. They're also going to be good. They're probably going to be good for chump blocking, and we just got to get to the Pestilence, so just going to hope for the best. We do need 1 additional land as well, but we should be able to find that within 4 turns. Thraben Inspector, we're just going to start on our tapped land so we can get that Thraben Inspector down. But because they only played a bunch of 1/1s, I'm going to go ahead and get the Erishan Cleric down just in case it disincentivizes their attacks. Turns out they are going to be able to attack with the Vanguard, but I'm just going to go ahead and chump block. We want to keep our life total as high as possible for these Pestilences. Every bit of life total is that much more basically board wiping we can do with Pestilence. Our opponent is indeed going off. So basically, the 1 card we don't want to see is a lead the Stampede, which we haven't seen. We did get to see their hand because of the land grant. I'm a little surprised that my opponent cast the Mob Justice there. That was going to be a card that was going to be a little difficult for us to play around over the long game. But cashing it in there means that we now know exactly how much damage we have to deal, or how have to survive. Here, it's a pretty good spot for us to either land the Pestilence or the Guardian, but I'm deciding on the Guardian simply because we can continue to chump block this big 7/7, and we should be able to survive taking just a few damage. I'm a little worried that we can die this turn, so I'm going to go ahead and play the Kami just to kind of really lock up the board position. It's going to prevent basically the entire attack this turn, and then next turn we'll have 5 mana, allowing us to play the Pestilence and activate it for 1, really clearing out this board. So that is why I went with this plan. It's a much safer plan over the long run, and we're just going to go ahead with that. We've basically gotten past the most dangerous turn, which is the turn where we played the Guardian, but now we have basically infinite jump blocks against the 8/8. Here we do have the option of just kind of taking a few damage to kill the Nettle Sentinel, but once again, since we're on the Pestilence plan, that isn't worth it, so we're just going to cash in our Kami. And yeah, we're going to go with the plan as we mentioned, clear up most of the board. We're going to be taking 2 damage from the Nettle Sentinel, but that is a worthwhile trade, and that's only if they were able to play a green card, which they were not. So it looks like we're in the clear now. And I'm just going to go ahead and get this Coalition Honor Guard down now. This means we'd be able to block the Nettle Sentinel if he was to attack with it. And we can always just activate the Pestilence for 2 to clear out the Nettle Sentinels, but at the same time, we don't want to be too hasty on that. We do have to protect our life total since we're way down on life, and if our opponent was ever to get a lead to Stampede, they could flood the board more than we'd be able to clear out. So we're just going to sit tight for a little while. And there is indeed a lead to Stampede. He's not going to be able to, our opponent's not going to be able to play much here at the moment, and that's okay. It will at least let us know what they're going to be getting over the future, and it's just a Quirion Ranger and an Elvish Vanguard, so nothing to worry about there. Gonna go ahead and just cycle our Ash Barons. We're basically just waiting to get some way of getting in there for some damage, something to start closing out the game, or possibly the Kami Lock if we can. Yeah. Getting the Doomblade, I'm going to get rid of the Elvish Vanguard because that is the only creature we're not going to be able to wipe out with the Pestilence, and this gives us an opportunity to start swinging in there for some damage. Goes ahead, and our opponent just decided to start play some creatures, but I'm not going to board wipe just one just for the sake of it. I'm just going to get in for a little bit of damage. And for as long as my opponent isn't willing to play more, I'm not going to wipe the board. Here I'm just going to go ahead and use the Core Skyfisher now as the blocking duty. As if we're drawing creatures, I could just swing with everything and just play the creatures down. So things are looking pretty good. I'm pretty sure my opponent is holding their hand, basically waiting to draw something that would kill the Pestilence, and that is perfectly reasonable. Gonna play another Lead the Stampede, that does make sense. So, here with 2 creatures, I'm considering activating the Pestilence, and I do. This means I can swing with everything and don't have to worry about leaving anything back to block. I also have the Crossroads to gain a bunch of life, and this will now put me ahead on the damage race. So, yeah, that's basically game, because I'm just going to be able to activate Pestilence for 1 or 2 here, swing for a bunch, and activate Pestilence for the rest. So, this is a good matchup. It's not a guaranteed matchup by any stretch. We're just a bit favored. Elves certainly does have the tools and the fast starts that are able to run over Kami Lock Pestilence, but we did manage to get there in round 1. I will see you guys in round 2.